What's up, guys? So as you've seen in the last video, everything was great, but the car was slow. So I have a few theories. I want to thank John Capizzi for making me aware of this, and Steven for just consulting me through all this nonsense. But what I figure is the cam is degreed off, and John told me that some crankshafts or the sprocket for them are actually not the same as others. So what we're gonna do today is verify the cam timing. So I got it kind of pulled apart, and I got a degree wheel up on here. Shout out to Logan, thanks for that. And what we did was we just found top dead center. And how you do that is with a piston stop, if you have the heads on. So you put a piston stop in, and then on your compression stroke, you turn it until you hit your piston stop. Then mark your balancer. So I did that, and I marked my balancer at 33 degrees. And then you go the other way, all the way back around, and whatever it stops again at is what will be your second number, basically. So then my second number was 27. I set it pretty close when I had it on. So then to get to top dead center after that, it would be 3 degrees, because 27 to 0 and then 33 over. And you add those numbers together, divide them by 2, you go that number ahead of where you're at right now. So 3 degrees is our number for top dead center. So we are going to roll this motor back over, get the piston stop out, get it to 3 degrees, and set her at 0. All right, so I told you how to pick up TDC. Sorry I'm not filming myself doing this as I do it, because it's kind of a pain in the ass and it's a little bit of focusing. And I really don't want to mess it up because I would love to race on Saturday. So we got the wheel on here, as you've seen. And then I got this little ghetto indicator set up, but it works pretty good. And so where I am there is right on the tip of the push rod. So the reason being, I tried to do it, I was going to do it on the rocker or on the valve spring. But when you do that, your lifter is compressing, so you won't get a true number. So if I did it this way, everything comes out right. So what you do, start at TDC, it doesn't really matter where you start, I guess, but you go until you hit your max lift. So all of a sudden your indicator tip, it'll be turning, and then it'll stop, and then if you keep going, it'll start coming back. So I turned it until it stopped, wrote down that number, that my particular number was on 62 on the indicator, and then I went 20 thousandths past and stopped. So I went to 42 it would be, because the direction the indicator is spinning. And then you write down your degree. So my degree was 148 degrees. And then you go and turn the motor back the other way past your 62, and then you come back up to it and stop at 42 again. So then you're 20 thousandths on the other side of the lobes, basically. And the reason I did 20, I seen a guy on YouTube and he said that he did 20 because if you have a different steepness off the back of your, say, front side of the intake lobe versus the rear, this will get you the closest number. And so that's what I did, and I got 85 degrees for that one. And so then you want to calculate that by your cam center line or whatever it is, ICL. And so how you do that is you add those two numbers together. I got 232 and then divide it by 2. And I got 116. And this cam's ICL is 111. So that tells me that the camshaft is 5 degrees retarded on this motor. So I bought this set of LS Pro from Summit. It's a timing set, and it has these little eccentric dowels, which highly don't recommend because the hole is extremely tight and it doesn't really tell you a specific way that it's supposed to go in. Excuse me. So it goes in that dowel hole right there, the one with my finger behind it. But you can put that in there anyway, and it's extremely tight, so I'm nervous if I put it in, not gonna get it out. But you can also adjust this off of the oil pump drive that goes on the keyway. So that's how I'll adjust this one. I'll just put the 0 bushing in and then adjust it on this part right there. You can see it says A2 or R, and that's advance or retard, and then whatever degree. So we're going to advance this cam 6 degrees ahead, and we should be golden. So it's quite the little event, but now I'm gonna put this thing back to top dead center, drain the water out of it, pull the front cover off, take the wheel back off, and get to gear swapping. So I'm glad there was an issue though. If there wasn't an issue, I was going to get rid of the old SBE and build an LSX because it just wasn't fast enough. So this motor will carry on in the car. So I'm gonna get this thing tore apart and get to swapping gears. And once we get it all fixed up, I will do that same test again and make sure I did it right. And we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna get to it. Well guys, it is currently the next day. This thing battled me to the end last night. What I ended up having to do, if you ever have to do this, is you gotta take all the rockers off. I leave the exhaust one on there so I can see what number 1 is doing. Dropping in to say don't do that. Just use the push rod. That caused me a lot of problems. What ended up happening was that piston stop was catching on the exhaust valve. So what that meant was I was getting false readings on my TDC, and it didn't affect anything. I mean, it wasted a hell of a lot of time, but it didn't hurt anything. I did a compression test on it, everything was good. But just don't do that, because then if you catch that valve, you are essentially hitting something, making you make your mark in the wrong area. Because when I had the timing cover off, I was noticing all this fluctuation. I'm like, well, why aren't I on TDC when my numbers calculated out? And that's why. So just be aware of that if you're ever doing it. Just take everything off and watch the push rods, because it's gonna make it a hell of a lot easier if you're doing it with the heads on, because it definitely sucks. End of the day, should have just took the head off, had to take it off anyway, so that was kind of dumb. I wasn't planning on taking it off, but you'll see later in the video that I had to take it off, so just wanted to drop in there and let y'all know that. But then take everything else off, because any amount of pressure on your push rod will not allow the camshaft to turn. And when you're trying to install a gear on it, it is incredibly difficult. Last night I probably tried 5 times to get that on there right, and I was always a tooth off every time. And so today I just took it all apart and did it the right way, and now we got her on. So let me explain what I think is going on here. And you can comment down below or message me if you think I'm off. But what I did yesterday was I verified the ICL of the cam with the original setup in, which is just your generic, probably got this off a Summit or something. It's just a GM cam sprocket. And then a factory oiled pump drive with the gear thing on it. One of these boys right here. So I checked it, and it's 5 degrees advanced, or 5 degrees retarded, I mean. So something is off, because now I changed it 4 degrees on this one, and I actually was 5 degrees the opposite way. So then I set this one back to 0, and it's right. It measures right, checked it twice, got the same number every time. So I know that I'm right, and I did that the first time too. So I know that I was right then, and I know that I was right on top dead center first time, and I know I was right on top dead center this time. So I don't know if they had a run of those sprockets that were bad, or the little oil pump drive thing. I mean, looking at it, you can't really tell if there's anything off about it, but that doesn't mean, you know, a couple degrees is very, very, very minimal. Which it actually looks like it's slightly off looking at it. Maybe I'll flip the camera around so you can see it. All right, what's up, y'all? So, last you saw, I was putting it back together. Timing was all right, everything was all good. So after I got the balancer on, I wanted to just redo the TDC, and for some reason I was having very strange problems doing it, and I don't know why, but I ended up shoving a camera down number 1, and it turns out I dinged the piston just slightly. I'll drop a picture of it right here. But on the camera, it looked much worse than what it actually looks like in the car. So I elected to pull it apart instead of run it, which I probably didn't really have to because it wasn't a whole lot. I mean, as you can see, I just honed it off, and there's barely even a nick there. So me being overly cautious, whatever. It is fine, but I think what was giving me the problems was I had the exhaust valve, not tight, but just in there a little bit, and I think every now and again that piston stop would hit it. So then you're getting false readings. I don't think that's why I dinged it, but I think that's why I was getting such weird readings and kept doing it. I did like 13 of them TDC checks, and then you finally get it right, and you're like, okay, now it's right. I know it's right. Everything's good. Yada yada yada. But I think that's where I was having issues. It must have just barely been hitting it because it only did it a couple times out of the how many times that I did it. So nothing looks wrong there. I just had the head off, or I still have the head off, and everything looks to be all good. Cleaned it up. Everything seems to be mint. So we're gonna put her back together. There's the head. Bottom of it still looks all good. I mean, all this stuff is basically just stain. You can't really get it off, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna slap a new gasket on it and put it back together. So no harm, no foul done. I guess the race was kind of a disaster. Not a disaster, but there was just a lot of oil downs, and the racing was really slow, and they ended up calling it at like 10 o'clock because the track was just bad. So I guess I didn't really miss a whole lot. I had a great day on the boat yesterday instead, so no big deal. But right now, Sunday night, just putzing away here, putting her back together. Got all my studs back in and cleaned up. Got kind of everything all ready to go, and we'll slap her back together. She'll be running in a couple days or so. I'm just going to take my time, make sure it all goes back together right, and avoid any more issues. So I'm going to keep chipping away, put the gasket on, put the head back on, and get to torquing. Well, I got her all back together. Split some air out of the system, but she's pretty much all there. Bumper on, all that good stuff, but it seems like we have a little fuel leak culprit, which I don't like this fitting. It's garbage, and they don't screw very nicely, so when I put it on there, of course, you kind of cross-thread it, and now it will not seal up. So probably have to take that off and fix it, but I think I'm going to kick it over here just to hear it run, since it's been such a long grind on this thing, and a lot of me being stupid. So we'll hit it here and hear it purr, and then I'll probably fix that. All right, let's go. Well, as you've seen there, we got her running, and you also seen that I had a little bit of a fuel leak, so no big deal there. Took the fuel rail off, and you'll kind of hopefully get to see a lot more of what's going on this aspect, but I made a new bung for it, so that's getting welded, and then we should be good to go. You can see here I got the rail all pulled off, and everything just kind of covered. Waiting to get the rail back with the new bung on, and then we should be good. And hopefully I can show you some more of what we're gonna be doing. So definitely excited about that, but I'll talk about that some more later. But yeah, other than that, everything seemed to be good. Car ran good, started up, it was cooling, everything was all good with the head back on and with the timing fixed. So obviously didn't get to drive it or test it to really see what was gonna happen, but put it back together and nothing broke on a fire up, so we're looking good. So I'm just going to wait for that thing to come back, put her back on, and then we'll either get out and go testing, or we'll make a couple street hits and see what happens. So that's gonna wrap this video up, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Yes, I'm an idiot. I did a lot of this stuff, hardcore learning, but it did work, so we're good there. Thanks for watching, guys.